Labor Day weekend. A lot of people out of town, so we'll give it some time. Corey, you popped on down. Let's get you back up here.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. My mic was giving me some issues before, so I had to
No worries.
actually.
Happens. Discord is still weird. I am still because I'm on my phone right now where I'm at, and I can't figure out how to get it to be on my speaker whenever my mic's on. It always goes as if it's on my calling speaker, like I got to put up to my ear. Don't understand. Gotta
Yeah,
love.
I've had that same issue as well. You actually have to go to the actual. I think you go if you're on an iPhone. I think there should be an icon on the right, on the top right corner, but you can then
I actually
see.
just figured it out. It's actually not there because that's where I thought it was going to be. It's you got to swipe up. And if you
Okay.
swipe
Yeah.
up on your phone, then it says change audio output. So that worked.
Yeah, I was having that issue as well with group chats.
It's weird how Discord has the settings in one place on mobile and a different place on desktop, but it is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, we'll give it a few minutes. I mean, while we're waiting for people to roll on in, how's your weekend going? You didn't do anything fun for the holiday weekend?
Just laying low pretty much. I think I'm gonna go fishing a bit later because it's salmon season by me in Chicago, so that should be nice.
That does sound awesome. I've been to Alaska and salmon fish there, and probably my most pleasant and amazing and memorable fishing experiences. I love fishing. I fish kind of everywhere that I go, but salmon fishing and I love both eating raw fish and cooked fish, and I honestly don't think that you can get better than salmon.
No.
Agreed. How's it going?
What's up, Juice?
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, I think Alaska is in a different league of its own though when it comes to fishing.
oh, 100%. It's just so few people there that when you go fishing, it's like you're fishing in an area that no one's ever touched before, and there's just so much fish. It's not even fishing; it's catching. Really, when you go to Alaska.
Yeah, I feel like they're a lot of the streams there are just absolute honey holes. Like you throw your rod in and just within a couple minutes you'll hook something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. I mean, I when I went, unfortunately, I literally got there a day or two after they stopped allowing the use of roe, which are the fish eggs. I'm sure you know that,
Yeah.
or bait. And I guess if you're using roe for bait, it's almost just as simple as you drop it in, and within 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you're going to be hooked up. But even without that, even just with lures and fake roe, it worked perfectly fine. But yeah, no, Alaska is a spot that if I ever retire and I don't have to worry about money, I definitely would love to go live off the grid there. I think that it's one of the coolest places where you can go and look somewhere and be like, if I go and step foot there, I could potentially be stepping foot in a place where no other human has stepped foot before, potentially, right? If you trek far enough, but so off the grid.
Where
Kind
did
of a
you
cool
go
spot.
when you went?
What was that?
What part of Alaska did you visit when you went fishing?
I was in the Kenai Peninsula, so Anchorage and that area over there. Really just stayed kind of near there and traveled to a few villages and small other towns, but really stayed in that Anchorage area.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go.
Definitely got to make a trip. So, I mean, with that, that could be a good segue into, how do we make that trip? Well, obviously, by making successful products and services and platforms and making sure that our businesses thrive. So we can probably start the AMA. I've got someone that's recording it here, StarGen. He's also first place in this poker competition. Damn great multitasker. But go ahead and you can start recording if you haven't already. And right in a second, I'll shut up. And I'd love for you first, either one of you, to go ahead and introduce Lava and a quick idea of what you're all about, a few minutes, and then we'll jump right into questions that I'm sure, we'll be able to answer more and go into more depth. So we can kind of just have this be a quick intro and then hop right into some questions we got. And then we've also got in the audience for you there. Please go ahead and use that AMA questions channel if you've got any direct questions that pop up into your mind while you are listening to our speakers up here now. So go ahead. I will mute my mic and give us a quick intro.
Sure. So I'm Ari. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lava Financial. We originally launched back in April as a hybrid node as a service platform where users could buy into our protocol from three different tiers of nodes. And one of the things that sets us apart compared to other node projects is that we've always had the goal of sustainability in mind, and the plan from the beginning has been to operate as a revenue share protocol, where buying in with a node essentially grants you a share of all investments made from the treasury, including seed level investments, farms, as well as returns from our sister projects, which I can get into later on in the AMA. And essentially how it works is each node represents a user's weighted share in all investments made. And users can then go ahead and actually claim their share for each investment from a dashboard on our DApp, where they can view a breakdown of the project, including a description. For seed investments, they might also see information regarding, lockup, TGE, vesting terms, that sort of thing. And as soon as vesting kicks in, a user can actually claim their share of of that particular investment. And another cool thing that we've recently rolled out is you can almost think of it as like a community launchpad, where node holders not only do they receive a portion of the revenue generated from these investments, but they can also make additional contributions to seed rounds that we're participating in on top of the amount that they'd receive from the revenue share. So if a user is bullish on a particular project, whether it's Magpie or Shardium, which are two of the 7 investments that we've already made, they can choose to invest on top and actually increase their allocation. So that's pretty cool. We originally, like I said before, we originally launched in April. Lava has 3 different tiers of nodes. These are Fuji, Krakatoa, and Novarupta. The cost, or the difference in cost between these are 100 lava for the Fuji, which is the lowest tier. That's $30, and that returns 0.6 lava per day. The middle tier is the Krakatoa, which costs 200 lava and returns 1.6 lava per day. And the highest tier is the Novarupta, which is 500 lava, which is equal to around $150, and that returns 4.8 lava per day. So the way Lava actually works as a revenue share protocol is when users first buy into a particular node, they have an ROI value set, and that ROI value is just the actual total amount that they've invested. So if you bought, let's say, 2 Novaruptas and 1 Krakatoa, that would be $300 for the 2 Novaruptas plus another $60 for the Krakatoa, since it costs 200 lava and lava is at 30 cents. And basically, what we have is called true ROI, which effectively means that you are you're guaranteed to receive lava until you've actually made back the initial investment that you've put up. And then once that occurs, the nodes that you have get converted into revenue share only nodes, where you can then go ahead and actually claim your portion of each of the investments that we've made. And those include, as I mentioned before, our seed investments, farms, returns from trading bots, as well as returns from our sister projects. Users can also choose to compound. Compounding in this case is a little different from claiming, because when it relates to the actual ROI value, compounding is only counted as 50% towards your ROI. So you can so you'd be able to actually compound it to a greater value and to a greater number of nodes whose value would be higher than if you were to just claim, in which case you'd get your ROI back, and then it would just be revenue share at that point. The one cool thing that we have for people to compound is if you compound, then the compounded nodes that you've made still can continue to produce P lava, which can be used to create nodes that are revenue share only and don't emit lava. But this way, people who compound can continue to increase their their share of all investments made. So that's just an extra incentive on top for people who choose to do that, rather than just simply claiming. But both are perfectly reasonable strategies. If you wanted to get your ROI back or your initial back as quickly as possible, then claiming every day would still be fine. You'd get your your initial amount that you put up back, and then at that point going forward, you'd be able to claim your share of of all the investments that we've made so far. And I can give a little breakdown of some of the seed level investments we make. So the way our approach we have so far for our seed investments is we're partnered with 6K Starter, which is a community-based VC group. They have connections to bigger firms in the space like Alameda, Republic, Jump, and they are connected through them to projects that are looking to build over longer periods of time, and that are looking to do different cool things in DeFi. And just to give you an example of some of these seed investments so far, we've invested in one of the investments that we've made is in Shardium, which is an upcoming EVM compatible layer 1 that focuses on security and scalability through dynamic state sharding. So the blockchain can scale in response to an increasing volume of transactions just by adding additional nodes. So it's horizontally scalable, and it's actually founded by the founder of WazirX, which is one of the largest crypto exchanges in India. And we participated in the private round for that. Another one of our more recent investments was in Magpie Protocol, which is a cross-chain message passing protocol that allows swaps between different chains without bridging or using wrapped assets. It essentially uses the actual bridges on each chain to actually communicate the positions. So I guess how essentially the way that it works is compared to other options, when a user swaps makes a cross-chain swap in Magpie, they don't need to go to the corresponding bridge, learn how to use it, spend a bunch of gas on transfers and waiting. But instead, they simply use liquidity pools on each chain that they support, and they use a message passing protocol to actually communicate the information. So if you want to bridge US to from, let's say, USDC on AVAX to USDC on Polygon, they're not minting and burning the way that a lot of these other bridges do, but they use liquidity pools and just communicate your actual position and the fact that you bridged using the existing bridging infrastructure. And they're backed by firms including Jump, Republic, and Big Brain Holdings. I think it's Big Brain Holdings or Big Brain Capital. That's another one. We got in the seed round for that one. We've also invested in projects. You may have heard of some of these: Bridge Network, DeFi Spot, as well as Partija. Partija is a privacy-preserving layer 1 that uses zero-knowledge compute and multi-platform computing so that people can operate on the same set of data on the blockchain in a secure and private fashion. So those are just a handful of some of the investments we've made, and we're looking at, we're always looking at, other potential investments to make, but we have pretty selective criteria when it comes to actually choosing those investments. Typically, we'll want to see that the team, has sort of an established background in the space. So we want to see if they've worked on other projects in the past. Obviously, that's a big plus for us. We'll want to actually see the community behind each project and how engaged it is. So if they have an existing Discord and Twitter set up, if we see that the level of engagement is high and people are frequently posting and chatting in Gen Chat, then that'll be good for us. And then obviously one of the main proxies that we use just to gauge whether or not an investment is potentially promising is seeing the other firms that are participating in that round. So if we see a firm like Alameda is participating in these seed rounds, then obviously that stands out to us as a potentially promising opportunity, because that would indicate that they've done their research into that project so far. But we'll still go and do a deep dive into each one, look at the tokenomics as well as the team, and see if it makes sense before we end up investing. That's for the seed investments. Another way that Lava generates revenue, which ultimately flows back to our holders, is for our sister projects. And I can dive into the sister projects and take questions on them. But to give you a brief overview, we have two sister projects, Prism and Divi. Prism is a DeFi automation and integration platform. It's similar to Zapier or If This Then That, where users can chain together different building blocks that represent, actions or interactions with specific protocols to create and automate high-level strategies. And each block, so it represents an action or an interaction with, some protocol. So it could be, swapping, staking, bridging, adding liquidity or moving liquidity, taking out a loan on, on let's say Aave, for instance. And these blocks run in response to user-defined execution triggers. And these triggers can be time-based or event-based. So if it's time-based, it would run in, let's say, in 24 hours, or it could be a trigger that executes regularly, like every 7 days do this or run this block. Or it could be event-based. And what that means is just, uses on-chain information such as price, volume, number of holders, that sort of thing. But the cool thing is these strategies that users create using what you can essentially think of as DeFi Legos or DeFi building blocks. Once these strategies are created, they can be shared and run directly by other users. So you'd be able to just, share a link, and then other users would be able to run these particular strategies on their own. So this is good because it opens up the doors for DeFi to a lot of people who might not have the knowledge yet to necessarily undertake these complex multi-leg strategies. But if you're someone who already has that knowledge, then you can simply create that strategy just once and share it, and anyone would be able to run it on their own. But and the cool thing about these strategies is that they can also be modified. So if a user wanted to change some of the execution trigger or the conditions that determine those triggers, they'd be able to do so by just modifying the actual blocks. So that's cool. That'll allow people to actually build on top of other people's work on the platform. And then some other cool features that I'm excited about for Prism is we have a feature that allows users to actually generate strategies just by a text description. So they don't even have to go to the builder section and use the visual builder to chain together the blocks. They can actually just describe in text the series of actions that they want to take, as well as the associated triggers, and we'll automatically generate the corresponding strategy to them. So they don't even have to go to the build section, search through our library of supported apps and connect these blocks together. As long as they can succinctly describe the series of actions that they want to take, then we can generate the strategy that most closely approximates their description. So that's cool. And then one recent feature that we've been working on, and this is I'm pretty excited about because it's pretty unique, is basically a Chrome extension. Because one of the issues we've noticed is that when it comes to maximizing engagement on different platforms, it's kind of hard to have users, go and visit your app every single day, to discover and to deploy, some of these new strategies in the case of Prism, for instance. So one thing we thought of is basically having a Chrome extension that when a user clicks on it, anytime they're on a protocol's website, like it could be Curve, for instance, or it could be Lava, whatever it is, when they click on the extension, they can see all of these strategies created by other users that use that specific protocol. So if I'm on Aave's website, then I would be able to click on an extension, on a Chrome extension, and then I'd see all the particular strategies that happen to use Aave. And there might be some sort of be a leveraged yield farming strategy that requires borrowing through Aave and depositing collateral there. But I'd basically be recommended all strategies that use that specific protocol once I'm on that site. And this is huge when it comes to discoverability, because people aren't gonna want to visit our site every day necessarily. But if with something like a Chrome extension, you could think of it as almost similar to MetaMask, where people will just habitually or instinctually click on the extension to actually see what's available whenever they're on a particular site. That's pretty cool, and I'm excited about that. The other sister project that we're working on is Divi. What Divi is a multi-chain futures and derivative platform. You could think of it almost as similar to GMX, when it comes to futures, and DopeX when it comes to options. But the unique thing about Divi is that anyone can create a trading pool to become a market maker. And when they create a trading pool, they can choose what specific derivatives to offer against that trading pool. And that could be things such as options, volatility swaps, uh, volatility indices, swaps, or other types of derivatives. And they would be able to collect the majority of fees based on people who use their particular pool. And when you create a trading pool, each person is responsible for determining, what the products they're offering, what specific derivatives they offering are. And obviously they're able to customize those. And they also, each market maker sets the fees for that particular trading pool, and they also determine what the incentives are, because they're going to want to figure out, okay, how do I attract liquidity? So and how do I make this this particular pool desirable enough so that people can actually stake with me, so that we have deep enough liquidity to actually offer some of these different derivatives. And so you can think of this almost as similar to pseudo swap, in the sense that the trading pools are all user supplied, and the incentives and fees are all set by each market maker on the platform. And you could think of it as, I guess, operating similar to GMX and DopeX when it comes to liquidity management and derivatives. In this case, for each pool, we'll have single-sided staking available. So you won't have to necessarily, pair two tokens together. You can just supply a single one of the assets, and then you'd essentially be receiving a share of all fees generated from that particular pool. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the nice thing about this is that, it opens the door for a lot of projects when it comes to offering, derivatives against them, because I know there are a lot of projects right now that are obviously listed on a DEX, but if they'd like to do something more complex, then they would be able to do so. They'd be able to create their own trading pool, and this is just another avenue for them. So I'm excited about that, and we're actually talking to an existing DEX on the Binance Smart Chain now to actually offer this feature on their platform, just as an add-on. So they would have I think in this case they're looking to offer options against some of their pools. So in this case, you'd be able to go to the DEX and you'd be able to see the different options that are available against some of the assets that they support. And it would say on the bottom, it would say powered by Divi. But people would also be able to trade directly on our platform itself. This is just, like I said, an added feature that provides value to existing projects. So that's pretty cool. That's a summary of the sister projects. Did you have are there any specific questions regarding the protocol?
I've got some questions for you in general that I think would answer questions some people might have about the protocol.
Sure.
You kind of spin it all out. I love you laying it all out. Everyone's kind of getting everything right at the front. So that's good. Leads for any questions that could be.
I like breaking everything down. Just providing all the information up front, and then addressing each aspect individually if there are any questions, rather than addressing each thing piecemeal. So.
Yep, no, makes sense. I mean, did you want to finish off with anything, or do you want me to kind of get into some questions for you?
You can get into some of the questions. I think that's fine. I gave a pretty good overview.
Perfect. Yeah. No, got a lot going on. I love it. Seems like you're doing a lot in parallel. And so I'm just curious, one of the first questions I've got here is in regards to, your team, and what's the experience looking like on the team in terms of what you guys are capable of and what you did before you came into the Web3 space.
Sure. So I've been a developer for the past 6 years. I was actually into crypto in 2017. I wasn't really trading shitcoins back then, but I was, I bought into Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I've been holding since then. Before getting into Web3 development, I was a developer at a real estate law firm, helping them with their case management system and just an internal dashboard that they were using to manage ongoing cases, as well as all the parties involved. I got into DeFi, and I guess specifically development, I want to say back in 2021, I launched at first a small NFT project, didn't really get anywhere, and there really wasn't, a great deal of utility. It was more just community based. Um, and eventually that project, like it sort of fizzled out after a few months. And then I started looking at, other projects to see, cool things that were being done in the space, and that's when I first came across Olympus, and I had thought about, creating a fork because that was popular at the time. This was, I want to say, back in October, maybe November. But because it was because the space was so filled, I decided like I wouldn't really be able to provide any value that wasn't already there. So I, decided not to go down that path. But then I saw the how popular these NOSes and DOSes started to become, and this was when Ring first launched, and then they had their failure. And I saw that other projects were popping up that tried to address some of the shortcomings that Ring and a lot of these other early node projects had. And then one thing that stuck out to me was the fact that fundamentally these node models are flawed in the sense that you're asking people to buy in with some native token, and the only way that they can recoup their investment is by receiving a native token. So at the end of the day, that only means that there's going to be constant downward sell pressure on that on that project's token. So the idea that I had was to create a node as a service where the returns aren't exclusively coming from just some native token, which propagates the Ponzinomic model that many are accustomed to, but where the actual returns are coming from the underlying investments made by the treasury. And in this case, returns would be coming from from productive investments for node holders rather than simply a native token whose supply and whose emission rate can be arbitrary. So that's how Lava really came to be, and we have a team of we have 4 core people on our team, and we have 2 Solidity devs and 1 front end dev. Their background is in finance. One of our CFO, Larry, he was actually an investment analyst in the UK. Juice was working, and I'm sure he could
I'm here.
Yeah, he could probably, you can, if you want, you can go into what you were doing
Yeah,
before.
sure. So hi, I'm Juice. So yeah, I got started in crypto about 2 years ago, and before that, and also once I got started, I was working as a project manager for a pharma company. And I got started with your very basic, I was just like, I didn't even know what crypto was. I had heard about it back in 2012 when I was graduating. And I remember Dogecoin kind of was like brought up like around that time, and obviously kicking myself now for not getting into it. But I had just kind of heard bits and pieces of crypto, but I didn't really dive in until about 2 years ago. And I started with your general just buying on on an exchange, and I just got deeper and deeper and started getting into DeFi and seeing what all that was about. And finally, this February, I took the plunge and I quit my old job, and I went full time into crypto. And I found Lava back in December when they were just starting out, and I really liked the idea. I had gotten into I got into Ring, lost a good amount of money on that. But I made a good amount of money in some other like node projects and whatnot. But I really liked the sustainability aspect that Lava had going on. So I just started to get involved and slowly kind of work my way in and really like what they were building. So back in February, yeah, I took the plunge and came here full time, and I don't regret it one bit.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. That's a similar experience here. I mean, in terms of, I say it often to, when we were on AMAs or even to our own community here, they probably hear it enough. But, we came from the DeFi space as well. A lot of our founders and team members came from specifically, the same projects where we got pulled into, whether it was Strongblock or it was Ohm or it was Wonderland, or if it was any other node projects. We saw that the benefit there, and what really the golden egg that everyone was after was passive income. It was being able to go and click a button online and being able to claim your rewards and make money, doing nothing but basically being an owner in something. And when it was, the node projects didn't really make you feel like an owner in something, but it did give you that feeling, which was definitely inflated and sensational, but of being able to go and make an extreme return on a pretty minimal investment. And so I think that's what the takeaway here is, though, and that I'm glad that you guys as well see it, and know that, the takeaway is everyone wants a project like this, but it takes a lot more work than just using, like you're saying, an arbitrary token that can be inflated, the emission rates can be changed, whatever can happen that can fit the bill of the specific protocol, because they know at the end of the day, their entire protocol is built upon new people buying their token and not at all around business activity. So the fact that you guys are pivoting over to that business activity is great, which leads to my next question as well. So, when you guys launched and everything, it's still right now, you're a node project and you have nodes where people purchase into nodes. What, I think that I remember, and I don't want to spill any beans or anything, but how does it work when you guys really pivot fully over to the new revenue sharing model? Are you still going to be calling them nodes, or how is that going to kind of work?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So the way it'll work is that, we'll eventually be transitioning out of the node model altogether. We've already started referring to the nodes as volcanoes, and to really get into the true and complete revenue share model, we'll be capping the actual total number of nodes that can be made. And what we'll be doing is everyone who already has a node will be first getting their ROI as part of the true ROI, and then those nodes will be converted over into the revenue share nodes where, users can claim their allocation for each investment from the investment section of the dashboard that I was describing before. And then at that point going forward, since everyone will have received their ROI, and at that point, they'll be claiming only from revenue share, we will essentially be operating kind of like a rolling VC fund, where we'll be accepting additional investments, but in this case, instead of nodes, it'll be NFTs that correspond to your actual share of all the investments being made by the treasury. And they won't be offered all the time, but it'll be, like I said, on a rolling basis, maybe every couple of months or so. And because you don't want to offer so many NFTs or nodes or whatever it is that represents your share to the point where everyone is diluted, and what you're receiving for each project is pretty much nothing. So that's why we're planning on implementing the node cap, and when the NFT shares are offered, it'll be on a periodic basis, and it'll be for smaller amounts, most likely 1 to 200 at a time.
Gotcha. And so because I'm wondering from a technical tracking perspective, I understand how the nodes work and, how that works within there. Well, I guess I'm curious, how do your nodes work within the wallet? Are your nodes tokenized, if you will, as an NFT, and is that how they're tracked, the current nodes, or are they just traditional nodes that are registered through the dashboard and they're tracked that way? And then when you move to this next model, that's when they're going to be actually tracked as NFTs. And just out of curiosity as well, were those NFTs, are they going to be viewable, or are they just going to be strict utility?
Yeah, right now the nodes are not transferable, and users can't go and list them on an NFT marketplace. But when they when the node cap is put in place, then users will actually be able to go ahead and trade their nodes as NFTs. We actually have the contracts for that in place, but right now they're not, because you don't, if you haven't capped nodes yet and you let people go and sell their NFTs, what essentially that does is it creates almost like a strange dynamic where people will go ahead and sell their nodes on other platforms for less than what they cost to actually create on the main app, which would undercut the protocol. So, but once the cap is put in place, then users will actually be able to go ahead and sell their NFTs.
Makes sense.
And yeah, they would be able to view them they'd be able to view them, in their wallet as well as on the actual app itself.
Gotcha. Awesome. We're always excited to hear when someone's going to be launching NFTs, as you very well already know, and so you can assume why. So whenever those NFTs are ready, though, we'd of course love to cater them on the marketplace and enable that trading between them. But I know they're ways away, anyways, since that's going to be once you transfer to that model.
Sure.
But no, very, very cool. Looking through my questions, I mean, when you gave that first 25 minute spiel, you did really almost answer all the questions that I had, because there are going to be follow-ups for, the partner projects you got, what your other sister projects that you're working on, stuff like that. So you really did answer them, but we do have an AMA question in the AMA questions channel here. And I'll remind people in the audience that, hey, if you've got a question for Core or Apple Juice up here, go ahead and toss them in there. But the first question that we got is from Slime in the audience, and he's asking, will we be able to buy or sell? Oh, actually, never mind. That's the question that you already answered. But yeah, I'll answer it or ask it directly to you now. Will we be able to buy or sell the Lava revenue share nodes? Or I guess he means NFTs in this instance, because you answered the current nodes aren't transferable. But with the ones that will be transferable / tradable, will they be tradable on our marketplace?
The answer is yes. When the cap is put in place and nodes are tradable as NFTs, the plan is for them to be tradable, on any marketplace. But when it comes to actually having an exclusive place where they're bought and sold, that's something that we can certainly explore. And I think Alpha, I like what you guys are doing, so I'd be open to discussing there. Maybe having like our official collection listed with you guys. But we'll have to discuss and visit that when the time comes and the cap is put in place.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yes.
And perfect. And of course, we'd never even suggest to someone to go ahead and exclusively list with us where you can't with another marketplace. Rather, what we'd say is, hey, make us your preferred marketplace. And we already know that our marketplace is going to be better than others. There's no reason for anyone to go anywhere else. So we're not worried about that. But we never want to go and constrict anyone from only listing on one. But of course, we'd love to be the preferred. But we'll get there when we get there.
Definitely.
Blood and Cryptos asked a question. Let's read it. Hopefully it's not something that was already answered and I ask it again. I had a couple questions, but you answered them all. Oh, never mind. It's just a statement. Good. Thanks for saving love. I had my reservations for a while, as many of us investors, but you guys, in my opinion, came through with some great ideas as well as execution. So a little bit of love there from Blood and Cryptos.
Appreciate you, Blood.
All right. In the audience.
You cut out for a sec. I can't really hear you.
It's like you muted yourself. Uh-oh.
I could hear you, Juice. Yeah, I think you're muted right now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I went and I clicked on something on my iPad, and it went and totally moved from my phone to my iPad, because I was going to answer a question or click on another channel. But real quick, while we're waiting for some more questions to come in, because I do want people to ask any questions they've got, I do have a final question for you both. And whoever wants to answer can go ahead. But what's next and what's upcoming? So I know we talked about a lot of things you got going on. Seems like you're working on a lot of things in parallel, but I'm not sure the timelines of all these. So in terms of a community member kind of hopping in on the first time and hearing all this, what's to look forward to in the coming weeks?
So I would say our revenue dashboard, which has been in the works for maybe 2 months now, where users can actually go ahead and view their allocation for each specific investment, so they know what they're getting from the revenue share protocol. They can see the specific, they can see what project they're receiving tokens from, the specific terms of that investment. If it's a seed investment, they can view, a description of the project and any lockup and vesting terms. And they can, claim each investment as, in the case of seed investments, as vesting kicks in, or for the other investments, as soon as the return is generated. So we've set up a pretty cool system. And one thing that I didn't mention before is that the way our investment system works is that users can actually claim their portion for each investment, even if it's on another chain. So despite the project being on AVAX, if let's say we make an investment on, like in Partisia, which is an actual investment we've made, and they're launching their token on Ethereum, you can actually go ahead and claim your token on Ethereum. And the way that we've done that is through something called AnyCall, which is a cross-chain message passing protocol where you can actually communicate information between different chains. In this case, we've communicated the user's position on AVAX to the other chains that they'd be claiming on. So this allows for people to claim investments essentially on any chain. And AnyCall is actually a library that's offered by AnySwap, which is the bridge that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. So that's pretty cool. The investment dashboard is in the process of being rolled out. The investments and all the relevant information is being added. And as I think I mentioned before, we've made 7 investments so far. With regards to future developments, we've made good progress in terms of our development for Divi and Prism. We've actually already opened the Discord server for Divi, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. And that one will be launching relatively soon. We're targeting 1.5 to 2 months from now. So I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, I mean, and another cool thing that we're doing is we're trying to so not only are we're trying to provide value to the actual community itself, but we've been reaching out to other projects, exploring potential partnerships and seeing what can be done to to maximize value for both communities. And one thing we've done is we've opened up the seed investments to some of our partner platforms so that they can use that to diversify their treasury. And I mentioned this in our call that we had the other day. There's with the seed investment platform for our partners, there is no upfront commitment involved. They would just have access to the seed rounds that we're participating in, and they can choose to invest it if they want. And that's just an added value that we're looking to provide to some of these other projects to just essentially maximize the what each project can offer to their community. And another thing I think I spoke with you about before was essentially like launch pools, where if a project has a token and they want to provide additional utility to incentivize staking or people or to incentivize liquidity providing, they can essentially offer some of those an airdrop of some of those seed investments for people who provide liquidity. So yeah, that's partnerships are another ongoing area that we're working on and that I'm excited about. And we're looking to provide as much value as we can both to Lava and to our other projects in a way that's mutually beneficial. So those are I would say those are the 3 things that that are ongoing that people can look forward to now. And then Prism, because it's a little more complex, is more of a long-term project. I would say that you can expect a beta within the next 4 months, but that should be pretty cool. And that should there's the potential use cases there are pretty much only limited by your imagination, because essentially any series of actions that you would otherwise take manually in DeFi, when it comes to strategy, for instance, you'd be able to automate with Prism. And like I said before, it supports integrations with nearly any EVM protocol, but we're also looking to support non-EVM chains as well, like Solana and some of the IBC chains like Cosmos and Osmosis and so on. But the cool thing is it can, when it comes to automations in DeFi, it doesn't necessarily have to be only used for yield generating strategies. It could also be used, for instance, if a project wanted to implement their own price stabilizer. They'd be able to actually chain together a series of blocks that represent the conditions and then the actions that would need to occur. For instance, it might look like a buyback or almost a rebase of the liquidity, so that they don't even have to write a separate contract in order to actually implement an LMS or a stabilizer, but they can instead interact with their existing pool by just using different contract interactions chained together with Prism. So that should be pretty cool. And then another example I gave on our Twitter for Prism, and I don't know if you guys want to go ahead, you can actually check out our Twitter page. It's Prism DeFi is the handle. Another use case that I gave before is when it comes to to eligibility for things like airdrops. So a lot of times, if there are projects that haven't launched a token yet, if you want to be eligible for them in the future, you have to interact with them in some way. And with Prism, you can essentially do that. You can You can interact with all these all these all these apps or protocols that haven't launched the token yet, and you can have that run automatically, so you don't have to constantly be going through each one manually. And this way, you'd increase your chances of eligibility for potential airdrops in the future, whether it's for things like for chains like Arbitrum, or for platforms built on different chains that that haven't launched yet. But really, like a lot can be done, and like you can. Not like I gave an example of of implementing a stabilizer before, but you can also do things like automating airdrops to the community in response to certain conditions, such as say you have say you have a token, you want to offer an airdrop every time every time you have 100 new buyers, or you want to offer an airdrop to the to the person who's purchased the most amount of the token, or in terms of dollars over over a 24-hour period, then you'd be able to automate that process with Prism. So really, any interaction that you can think of, you can do, and you can chain them together. You can chain those interactions together with different trigger conditions to to create to essentially automate any process or workflow that you'd otherwise have to do manually. So I'm excited about that. But like I said, that's longer term because it's a little more complex.
No, it's a very cool idea, though. I mean, I'm familiar with Zapier or Zapier, however you want to pronounce it, in terms of automating, workflows in traditional Web 2 platforms, and so definitely makes sense. I mean, it's a common occurrence in all technology, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, when multiple platforms are built, multiple, if you will, dashboards in the case of Web 3 are built, different interactions, commands, stuff like that, and then they're not all succinct together when you wanted to use multiple different applications in one package. And so, yeah, you've got to have something that can go and enable the activity between all those different applications. And so definitely see that can be a massive use case here. So I'm excited to see how that works out. I think that I'm already thinking of definite use cases here with us. Some stuff that I'm sure developers will be happy with, but it's a cool sell. I really like that you guys are working on multiple platforms. Not only are you going and investing into different seed rounds of other projects, because there's plenty of, and I'm not saying you're doing it the same as others, but there are plenty of DAOs or other projects that just go ahead and use funds from an NFT collection or something to invest into other projects, and they're completely wholly relying on other projects. So I really like how you're kind of diversifying as well by releasing these two sister projects.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, the issue with only investing in other projects is that these projects are often illiquid and they have long lockup times. So if you want to have, if you want to be able to generate consistent cash flow as part of the revenue share model, you need those other sources of income as well.
Definitely.
So yeah.
No, it makes sense. And one other question that I've been having, actually, I was thinking about it earlier and I forgot to ask. Do you know, and maybe you don't know this yet, but do you have a number for that cap of how many shares you will have? Quote unquote shares.
Yeah, we're leaning at this point towards 4,000 for the node cap. Right now there are 3,062 nodes, so I think that would be a reasonable number to cap it at. And then obviously we'll make an announcement beforehand so people will be aware of that cap being put in place. And yeah.
Gotcha. No, very cool. I mean, that's another thing that we're very outspoken about it. We typically don't ever have any node projects, on stage here, where we consider ourselves, kind of like that Ponzi killer, if you will. We came from a Ponzi space. Our token was a reflection token, and from the beginning we said, hey, this is a reflection token. It's a tax token, but we're using this treasury to build something that's real business income. But the biggest thing that I hated about other node projects is when they went to go pivot and do their shift to being like, hey, we realize this is not going to work. We're going to go to, generate real business income and give it back to our holders. Those node projects, some of them had, 6-figure nodes, 100,000 to 600,000 to 700,000 nodes even. I think Strongblock just hit 600,000 or 700,000 nodes, maybe 800,000 nodes. And it's just ridiculous that they think that they can continue to pay out any sort of substantial rewards. And so the fact that you guys are still very niche and tight-knit with, just over 3,000, it still works out perfectly for you. So the shift is the pivot that you're doing, I think will work well. I really love all that you're doing. Very, very cool ideas.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, and from the very beginning, we've been clear with the fact that this part of phase one, which uses the actual node model where we have our native token Lava, which obviously is to be phased out, is more used as a bootstrap phase to actually create create the treasury to be able to, to then deploy those funds. And then, once we've actually made the seed investments, of which 7 have been made now, effectively the transition to a non-node model and to a pure revenue share model would kick in. And that's where we are now.
Yep. No, I love that transition. I mean, we did something, similar with our reflection token, going from a reflection token to getting everything ready with our platform, getting the platform out, turning off our taxes, having our token just be a strict taxless utility token. And now every single bit of income, anything that goes to users besides some initial fixed emissions that are even similar to, your rewards that you're giving out now, until it shifts completely to reward only. Same here. It'll shift straight to just dynamic rewards from fee-produced income, or income that's produced from fees on our platform. So I love it. I think that this is the way that everything needs to move toward. It's you look back 6 months ago, and all the projects that were popping up because of sensational high APRs, Lambo calculators, stuff like that. And it's the type of thing that you can't have a new project do that. There's just no way. It's impossible for something that just popped up and came out of the blue to be able to offer something like that. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of dedication, a lot of resources, effort, money, capital, team members, all of that to go and build something up into a business that can actually pay a substantial set of rewards to a substantial set of people too. That's the other thing is, even paying 3,000 or 4,000 people something substantial, you got to have a big operating business. And so we're doing the same thing with our 10,000 holders. We have to pick industries that actually can scale into profit numbers that can support this. And so I think that, you've done your research there. Seems like you've picked some great platforms to kind of scale into the numbers that make this possible. And hopefully here soon in the future, we'll both be, our business models will be doing so well that our holders are going to be so happy they invested on early, and it's going to be an exclusive group really that we're creating here with these businesses that come well before the next bull run, but especially into this next bull run. People are going to wish that they invested in these projects earlier because you already know the next bull run is going to come a bunch of more Ponzi projects that just go and screw people over. So I love that we're doing it the right way.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't think any more questions in here. I would love to leave it out to any closing notes that you've got. We're coming up right on an hour. So if you've got anything that you want to close it out with, go ahead. But I think that you've answered some awesome questions. You've really laid it all out for us. Loved having you up here so far. And this is recorded also for, the people that are in here that might have had friends that missed it. And so it'll be posted up into the Past AMA channel, and it'll be easily listable for everyone. But go ahead. Any closing notes you got? Take it away.
Yeah, I would say, always, when it comes to any project, always do your research. And, I would say, like Sub said, what we're seeing now is a massive transition to projects where the, returns for holders are coming from, from actual cash flow producing vehicles, whether it's businesses or other projects. So I would say, we'll probably see that begin to ramp up, more and more. And I would say the real yield movement is part of that. That's, that includes things like GMX and gains, where the returns for stakers are coming from fees. And I would say if you guys are interested in, in Lava specifically or any of our sister projects, and if you have any questions, come join our Discord, check us out, and, any questions that you have, we'll, if you post them in general, we'll be able to address them. Especially if we didn't discuss them here. But yeah, and you can also check out the Twitters for our sister projects that I mentioned before. It's Divi and Prism.
There you go. Yeah, and if anyone's got any questions direct, like you said, go reach out directly in their Discord. We always love to share communities. And so thank you so much for giving us your time up here. I know that it's a busy weekend here with Labor Day. So many people are probably out and about, but I appreciate you stepping in and giving us an hour of your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Of course. All right. Well, you both enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I guess the weekend's ending here soon, but we got the day off tomorrow. Hopefully, day off is never a day off for us here at Web3, but at least for the rest of the world it is. So enjoy the rest of your time, and we will hopefully be chatting here very, very soon. And thank you, everyone in the audience.
You as well. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.